Tonight on the WDW Fan Zone show, we're talking about how to stay and only stay on Disney property, Disney World property, that is, during your vacation, and why you should, shouldn't, and really, it's really why you should. So we're going to get into it right now and start the show. I am Stuart Sternberg, and I am joined by Darlene Nagy, John Maloney, and Kurt. Lottie is away on assignment, and she will, when she gets back from Disneyland, she promised us she'll do a trip report for us with her husband, Kyle. So I can't wait for that.
You bet.
All right. So Magical Express is gone. The long early morning hours and after what were late night hours after the parks close have been reduced somewhat. So what incentives are there to keep people on property? Don't all answer at once.
When you talk about incentives, and I think it's more than we can certainly talk about incentives.
Well, I didn't mean it just as incentives. I meant like in general, like what's keeping people on property and why should they only stay on property?
Yeah,
I could think of a few things. But
yeah, I mean, the reason that I stay on property is, or one of the reasons I stay on property is because there's so much for me there. I can't even get the things done that I want to on any given trip.
Yeah,
that there's no incentive for me to go somewhere else. And I like the parks, I like the restaurants, I like all the added things too. So there's just not an incentive for me to go somewhere else.
Yeah. Now before I moved down here, we never went anywhere else. You know, it's like we would totally immerse ourselves in Disney. And I believe when you leave Disney property thing, and we did that one year because, Darlene, remember we stayed at that vacation home?
Yes.
It's not the same. You know, once you get through those gates and it's like, see you real soon, you get depressed. It's just, there's something magical about being in the parks. And yes, the parks have changed with and since COVID, but they're still magical, incredibly magical. And I still believe you do miss out when you're not in a resort, you're not in the parks, you're not walking around anywhere. You know, when you're on Disney property, you know that we always say the weight of the world is lifted off your shoulders because you're in vacation land. I don't get that feeling when I'm on vacation anywhere else. Maybe a cruise here and there, but
well, and you're talking about the vacation home. And a lot of us are like, we're 5 minutes from the magic. No, they're 5 minutes from the gate, which is still 20 minutes from the magic.
Yep.
Just to get to the parking lot. So immersing yourself in the magic, I mean, even when you're in a deluxe resort, it's not throwing Disney at you, but there's that little theme. You still see hidden Mickeys here and there just to put a little smile on your face.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot that goes on property that you just can't get leaving property, especially the food. Darlene, you were going to say something before?
Well, yeah. So I have friends from my old area, West Seneca, New York, that they love Disney. They came down multiple times for many years, and they bought 3 homes down here. And they have those 3 homes and use them as a place for them to come and be able to go. Because they also liked going to Discovery Cove. But Disney was their main goal. And their vacation homes are decorated in Disney.
Yeah. Yeah, I think most people, and I'm generalizing this, when they come here to spend time at Disney World, you know, I think you're going to get a majority of the percentage of people coming down here that prefer those homes, vacation homes, if they're staying off property, to have Disney decor as opposed to Universal. You know, you do have your hardcore Universal fans, but you know, it just seems, and maybe it's because we're so immersed ourselves in Disney in general that we don't see, you know, past the blinders.
Yeah. So for people like us, for fans like us, Disney is part of our lives. It's
right. It's our culture.
It's a product well beyond Walt Disney World.
Yep.
So whether it's movies or music or crafts, greeting cards, the shows that are on Disney Plus, Disney Cruise Line, other types of travel, even Disney, Adventures by Disney and now Nat Geo, that product becomes part of our lives.
Yep.
And so it all kind of just blends together. It's just natural for us.
Yeah, years ago when Keith and I wanted to go to the parks down the road, one year we rented a car so we could come and go, but we still stayed on Disney property. The second time we did that, we had gotten gifted some tickets, and we only had to buy one set. So we ended up doing 2 days at Disney, 2 days at Universal. Then we came back and did 3 days at Disney. So we made, that's how we did it though. We didn't do a transfer or anything that time. We did stay at both places.
We've done a couple of trips down here where we went to Disney for a week, then we spent a few days at Universal after. That was years and years ago. Then we did another trip. We spent a couple of days at Universal in the beginning and then a few days at Disney after. And I'm not a Universal fan. I don't pretend to be a Universal fan. I will never be a Universal. Well, I'll reserve to. I want to see what they do with Epic Universe, but for the two parks they have there now, I'll never be a fan. I'm not into thrill rides. I like the themed and family-oriented rides much more than I used to like roller coasters. I'm not a big roller coaster person fan. Not at my age. I don't like getting sick on rides, spinning around. Yeah, darling.
It's the simulated rides,
and they're all the same, just different things.
They had a lot of them there too.
Yeah, and they have a lot of those.
2 or 3.
Yeah, it's like an overabundance, and it's the same ride, just a different theme to it.
Right.
In my opinion.
And they're not as good at story as Disney.
Right.
Disney won't put a restaurant in their parks without a story around it, and it makes a difference. And it won't mean the same to everybody, but I really think that it makes the continuity and the depth and the feeling more. It just makes it that more compelling when they've got that story behind it.
Oh, absolutely.
They don't exactly have. Sorry, they don't exactly have like when you go to Disney, you're going to different lands, so it's all around the spoke and the hub. Their center of Universal is a lake, and you got to work your way all the way around the lake. And different areas is themed a little bit different, but there's not really a separation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So until you go back into that, like the Harry Potter area and Diagon Alley, but you got to walk through there. You don't really know what's going on. All of a sudden, boom, it's there. So
took us forever to find that section of the park. The one time we went to look for it.
Yeah, it does. And just getting to their park, and I don't want to make this a bash Universal show, but just getting to their parks is not as easy as it is to some of the Disney parks. That's not to say some of the Disney parks are easy. Magic Kingdom is not if you're not staying on property. Even if you are, because you have to go to the transportation center and then take a monorail or a boat or a bus.
Well, and you had mentioned too about the food. A friend of mine came down and we went to Disney Springs as soon as she got off the plane, and we had lunch at Deluxe Burger. Well, then we went to Universal and she got a burger, and she said, she goes, I'd rather have the burger at Deluxe because the one there was not very good.
Yeah, well, and City Walk is not comparable to Disney Springs either.
That's changed a lot over the years as well.
It has. There was a time where I think City Walk might have been preferable to Disney Springs. or when it was Downtown Disney. But now I think what Disney has done, they've completely
Yes.
transformed it. You know, like I said, I don't want to make this a bash Universal.
No.
You know, I do want to. I think we should keep in mind that Epic Universe is being designed by a former Disney Imagineer. So I think we may see more storytelling there. But I think what Disney is doing now, look at Tron, look at Guardians of the Galaxy. They're bringing in, and you know, we can't forget, what's the Star Wars one? What can I think of? Rise of Resistance. We can't discard what Disney is doing. They're not doing as much as Universal is, but what they're doing is upping the game by bringing new technology and I don't want to say thrills, but new experiences that you cannot get anywhere else.
Right.
You know, and that is one reason why I would never leave Disney property either. And I think we're going to see a lot more of that in the years to come. It's not going to happen overnight. And I think Bob Iger staying on for 2 more years is a good positive sign for Disney.
Yes.
He knows that more work has to be done. He knows they've got to figure things out to better keep the guests happy and the rides moving along. And he needs more time to get it, you know, to get there. And I'm glad Disney's giving him that time.
Yeah. Well, but he also has to pick his successor, which is even more important.
Yes.
In the long run.
They cannot get that wrong. You know, especially the times we're living in right now. That is so important.
Not without a lot of pain and lost investment and, you know, brand impairment. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'd like to table what we're talking about right now till maybe the end of the show.
Yeah.
If we can. But, you know, look at the resorts at Disney. You know, all right, granted, they don't accommodate large families as well as other places, but the theming, the storytelling, and it keeps going back to the storytelling. It all starts with the story.
And the activities that they have at those resorts.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, the movies on the beach every night, you know. Riviera has that huge chessboard that you could play chess.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, it's just, the theming is just phenomenal at Disney.
Right. And they've gotten better at theming to vary it. So it doesn't have to be large characters in your face. It can be very subtle, and they can blend themes. So it can be an island theme. It can be, the Riviera is a different kind of theme. The Wilderness Lodge, the Animal Kingdom Lodge, they can blend some of their properties in with that in such a way that it's subtle and which ties the entire resort together to me.
Yep.
So there's different themes, and which is great which is another one of the reasons why I don't like to leave property is I can go stay at a different resort each time. They're spread around. There's different locations, different themes, different prices, price points. And so there's always something to pull me down there and to keep me there.
Yeah.
By the way, I got a friend who actually, they came back. They were at the Contemporary, and they were in one of the Incredible rooms, and it was cool. It's cool. It's not over the top. It was incredible. It's very contemporary in its theming. I saw a lot of the pictures, a couple little videos of it. It's cool. I got to give them credit. They did a good job on that.
Yeah. You know, I completely agree with you, Kurt. Some of those themed rooms are just second to none. You know, another thing I think Disney has an advantage over other places and I'm not just Universal, but any other area, other resorts outside of Disney. It's not just the theming. It's not just how the grounds are kept. It's, you know, once again, I'm going back to the storytelling. It's, you know, you're in a fairy tale from the time you enter Disney property. And that fairy tale just grows with you as your days on vacation build from day one to whatever your last day is. And there's John, you mentioned this before, there's so much to do that you can't get it all in. Logistically wise, when you think of the placement of the resorts, even with the transportation that you may have to take if you don't have your own, it's still better than Universal. Universal, the resorts, they may have larger rooms that accommodate larger families, but they don't have the proximity to their parks that Disney does.
And if you like more than one resort like I do,
mm-hmm.
Disney also makes it easy for you to do a split stay, or what we call a split stay,
right,
where you can stay in multiple resorts on a given trip. You get up one morning, you do your checkout, you have your baggage packed. They'll take your luggage and they'll take it off to your new resort, and you may not see it, until later in the evening.
True.
But you it's taken care of. You can go off to the next park, and then the next evening be in the new resort, mm-hmm. and you get more variety even in one trip.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're at Disney with kids, your kids are just. I would bet that over 90% of the children that go to both parks, Universal and Disney, would prefer to be at Disney because, it's just geared more towards younger children than Universal, especially the ride.
That depends on the age of your kid.
Yes, it does. You're right. Once they get into the teens, they're going to prefer Universal and all the roller coasters. You're right. But younger children, you're right. I should have prefaced that. Thank you.
It certainly does make a difference
mm-hmm.
what your family makeup is.
Oh, yeah. There's nothing better than seeing a kid, I don't care how young or old they are, for the first time at Disney World. For a parent with that child, it's priceless. When they see Mickey Mouse or Minnie Mouse or another favorite character, you know what? Yes, Universal does have characters. But again, it's Disney is worldwide, no matter where you go. Everyone knows Mickey Mouse. Everyone knows Minnie Mouse, Donald Duck, Goofy.
Right. And there's another important point there. When you've gotten accustomed to being at Disney World for your vacation, when you're somewhere else in the world, you gravitate toward that. So if you're in California, or if you're in Paris, or if you're in Tokyo, or if you're in Shanghai, you get to experience that same feel, but different attractions, different culture, different food, but it still feels like Disney. And the same thing is true with Disney Cruise Line.
Yep,
so
absolutely.
It's a different experience, but it still has that Disney storytelling, the Disney feel, the Disney service. And again, it's that continuity where it all blends together so seamlessly, I think.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Oh, it does.
I apologize. I'm just texting my brother. He tried to call me now.
I'm a bit busy right now.
Just a little busy.
Just a wee. I think a lot of our reasoning for staying on property years ago, and even now to this day, people were like, "Oh, you moved to Florida, you're going to sell your Disney Vacation Club." No, I'm not. I'd like to do those staycations on Disney property, even if I don't go to a park and I sit by a pool. Have a nice dinner. I could be staying at, the boardwalk, and I can go to Olivia's at the old Key West. Those are just things you want to do. I stayed at the Saratoga Springs last, and we went to downtown Disney. We took a boat. Or not downtown, Disney Springs. Sorry, I just dated myself.
At least you didn't say the Disney Village.
Oh, I have a friend that still says
before.
that. She's an original Old Key West holder, and it was Disney Village back then, and she still calls it Disney Village. But we went down, and we were able to get a boat to Port Orleans Riverside, and we went to see Yeehaw Bob. So there's ways of doing things on property that, you wouldn't be able to do if you weren't, I mean,
absolutely. There, and something else, we do this every now, well, when I say every now and then, it's been a while. We need to do this again. When our kids came down together for the first time after we had moved down to Florida, we decided to go and play miniature golf. Where did we go?
Yes.
Disney.
Yeah.
And if you're staying on Disney property, and it's not that expensive. It's a wonderful thing to do.
It's like $15 still, isn't it?
14, I believe.
14.
I'm not sure. It might
It's
be
that
more.
price up here, and it's not even themed as well.
Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So
I have never
by all
done
means,
that. I
it's
really
something
want
fun
to do that one of these
It's
times.
fun.
Oh yeah, winter.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yes. Yeah, both courses play 36 holes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last time when we did it, it was at least 10 years ago now. But the guy's like, "Do you want to play winter too?" And he just told us to go. I don't know if they do that now, but it was just a quiet day, and he's like,
Yeah, we had to pick.
"Go play the other course."
Yeah, we had to pick one course, and when we were done, we turned in our clubs, and that was it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was someone at the end of one course, and he's like, "You want to play the other one too?" It had rained a little bit before, so the course wasn't busy. I think that's probably why. He's like, "Stay, play the whole thing if you want."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. I hope they still do that. I didn't get lucky with that, but we didn't ask either.
That was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So I think it was $10 at that time, something like that.
Yeah, if you can go horseback riding on Disney property, don't they have ponies there too, or is it just the horses? I'm not sure.
Well, they have
ponies.
Do they still have the petting zoo? Is that back open again?
In Animal Kingdom?
No, at the
over at the
Fort Wilderness.
Yeah, where he's talking about.
Yeah, I don't believe it is. I don't know though for sure. But just the parks alone, it's Walt Disney World is an enormous piece of property, but just the parks alone,
43 square miles.
Yeah. Yep. And you're not going to be able to get everything in unless you're there for a month or more. Maybe even then, with a month, you're not going to get everything in. You might need 2 months. And forget the crowds. Well, right now, it's not.
That's a different.
Yeah, maybe we'll get to that later, or we'll save it for another time. But notwithstanding some of the lines that you may have to face to get on a certain attraction, whether you get Genie Plus or not. You have to go in there with a mindset, this is what I want to do, but I'm not going to be able to do everything. And you need to research. And when I say research the attractions, please, for God's sakes, don't look at Facebook. Don't look at any social media site when you want to research rides. Go to WDW Radio, all ears. There are touring plans. Go to places that will give you the facts and the guidelines of what you need to know based on your personality, your family's needs, the ages of your traveling party, whether it's little ones or seniors.
So I shouldn't just look at what a social influencer is doing on TikTok.
No. And you know what? There are some very good ones. Don't get me wrong. But there are a lot you can't trust.
It's not realistic.
Right. And you don't let somebody else form an opinion of an attraction for you. Form it yourself by experiencing the attraction or deciding whether or not it's right for you based on the facts. It's if your kids get scared easily, you don't want to take them on Tower of Terror. If they can handle the jumps up and down and they're, of the right height and age, go for it. But only you know your kids best, and only you know you best. Like I know myself. I used to love roller coasters. There are very few I'll go on now. I like Big Thunder Mountain. But I'm not going on Space Mountain anymore. And that's not even that. It's just, there's just something, I don't know what it is. I've been there, done that many times. I just don't feel the need to do it anymore. And for whatever the reason is, when you get older, a little fear sets in that you didn't have when you were younger.
By the way, there's extra padding now on Space Mountain on the sides. They added some padding on the side, so you're not
That's
bouncing
good.
all over the place.
That is good.
But along those lines, you're talking about how you get motion sick sometimes.
Yep.
This is the first time I ever went on Space Mountain, and I got off, and I felt a little bit off. And I don't normally feel that way. So I don't know what was up on this trip. I don't know if I was fighting a cold or something or what. But as you get older, even things change.
Yep, they do.
My back and neck can't handle Space Mountain.
Mm.
Well, and if my wife says, even after childbirth, how she interprets different attractions, there's some she's like, I just can't go on it anymore. I just do not enjoy it. It's too fast, or it's too, like, she won't do rock and roller coaster anymore. She wants nothing to do with having to go upside down. She just does not like the way that makes her feel. And she was going on those roller coasters well before I would.
Yeah.
So all these have to go into factor.
If there are some attractions in Disney World that are going to make you feel like that, why are you going to Universal? You know?
Well, that's it. Yeah. Hey, we got Great America right over here. And people are like, it's been over probably 25 years since I've been there. And they're like, why haven't you gone? I go, I don't like those roller coasters.
Yeah.
I need to be something themed.
And you know what? The people that love thrill rides, they'll go to places like that. They'll go to Universal and they're going to love it. But they're not going to like Disney so much because Disney is more family oriented.
Family oriented, yeah.
And you know, and I believe it's a different crowd. So I don't understand why some people feel the need, because, you know, I think a lot of it's got to do with Harry Potter. They want to see Harry Potter. Harry Potter, that ride, I had to keep my eyes closed almost the entire time because I would have come off there with, you know, a barf bag in my lap.
Oh, gosh.
See, we didn't have any problems with that one.
Yeah,
you talked about family oriented, and people. I work with teenagers every day, and we'll talk about stuff. And some teenagers will be like, "I love Disney," and others will be like, "No, I really like Universal better." And we'll talk back and forth about it. And their idea of Disney is, when they were younger, they went to the Magic Kingdom, and that was it. So when I say, did you go to Disney Hollywood Studios? They have no idea what I'm talking about. Did you go to Animal Kingdom? Oh, the zoo? It's not a zoo.
Right.
You know, did you go to Epcot? Oh, no, that was boring. Oh, well, then you didn't do. Because her parents went there when they were little kids. Mm-hmm. And yes, I'm sorry. In 1982 Epcot, it was a tad bit on the boring side with their edutainment. It's not that way anymore. It's changed.
It has changed. And it's continuing to change.
Yes.
And it's, as soon as those walls come down.
Yeah. I think you know what? October 1st, I think we'll see a lot of those walls down. Maybe not all of them.
I have not. It's got to be wood here somewhere. I have been singing those praises for 3 years now. Can't wait for the walls to come down. It's going to look great. Hopefully it happens soon.
Yeah, what I can't stand now, and it's the one thing I can't stand about Epcot. I don't care if you go there on a Tuesday and go back on a Friday. The walls are in different places. So you could go through one day, you can't go through the next, and it's like, I just learned how to go this way. Now I've got to go that way.
Yeah. Someone posted the walls are down, and they're like, never mind, they just moved them.
Yeah, they put a cut through. Yeah. It's a very narrow cut through.
It is. It is. And it may not be there tomorrow.
Right.
That's going to be the biggest news when that finally happens.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Stuart and I will definitely go and record live there at that time.
Bob Iger will have a major announcement. Ladies and gentlemen, the walls are down.
Yeah, I think I'll wait till the crowds go and enjoy and get out of there, and then I'll go back.
I hear they're not that bad right now.
No.
That's what I hear. I've canceled more park reservations in the last few weeks than I've gone in the last couple of months.
That's because of the heat.
That's because of the heat. It's
right,
just like,
and that's what they said.
Yeah.
The reason why it was that you could have gone, even though you're not allowed in there, on the 4th of July, because the lines were short. It also was 105 degrees in the shade.
Yeah, this is true.
You know, something I'm going to briefly mention here, if I can remember what it was now. I can't think of what it was. Oh, yeah, with the heat. you're hearing a lot about, oh, guests aren't coming down to Florida because of the heat. No, when you make vacation plans to go to Disney, you do that months in advance. Not, let's go to Disney next. Oh, wait a minute, it's going to be 105 degrees in the shade. I'm not going to go. No, only as annual pass holders decide not to go. If you've made plans to go on a Disney vacation, you're going. So I don't want to hear anybody reporting that they're not coming because of the heat. That's just nonsense. And that's the only point I want.
The time of year or the time of day that they're going to go in there. So it might be very quiet during the actual day portion with the parks. However, at night it's quite crazy.
Just look at the Magic Kingdom at night. Yes, a lot of people are there for the fireworks, but that park gets busy. When that sun goes down, more and more guests are pouring in, and they're there to either see the fireworks or go on the attractions because everybody else is watching the fireworks. And that's another thing with Disney. It's like Universal doesn't do fireworks every night. Why would you leave that? It's just such a magical experience, especially now on Main Street in the Magic Kingdom, to see those fireworks. I'm trying to think, what are the reasons would you have for not leaving property? I briefly mentioned food earlier. Darlene, you mentioned food. I think most of us mentioned food. It's like it's second to none.
Well, the customer service is another big deal. When you're staying on property, and if you forget something in that, you're always able to go down and ask if they have something. I remember we needed moleskin, and we were able to get moleskin and scissors to cut it, because when you fly down, you can't fly with scissors.
Well, you put them in your suitcase.
Well, you could, but
you checked suitcase.
We weren't thinking.
Yeah.
One of my kids in the middle of the night got sick. We called down. They sent someone up. He was there within 15 minutes. Replaced all the sheets. Everything. We tried to tip him. He's like pushing us away. No, this is my job. Thank you. He gave me some, whatever. It was midnight. They were there. They got it done now. That's the Disney magic we're talking about.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Not just some treats.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. I completely agree there. It's just no matter what the issue is or need of a guest resort, they will bend over backwards to make you happy and to satisfy whatever your needs are.
And like I said, they didn't just bring us the sheets. The guy remade the bed.
Wow.
He wouldn't let us do it. He made the bed for us.
That's cool.
Said, "This is my job. You guys, he's not feeling well. I got it." Mm-hmm. Thank you. We shouldn't have to. You got sick. Come on. Who wants to pick that up?
Mm-hmm.
There's so many reasons why I would not leave Disney property if I was staying there. I know people do. They'll hop in an Uber or a Lyft and go over to Universal to spend a day or two, or they'll split their vacation.
Well, that's time consuming.
It is.
So to get from one area within the Orlando area to another, it takes time to pack your stuff up, to get transportation, to go to the other location, and then once you get there, you got to get resituated, or if you're going into another park or wherever, you're losing valuable time by doing that.
Right. You're also leaving the magic that you've had surrounding you at that moment while you're on property.
Yeah.
How many people here, when you go into a hotel room, do you guys empty everything out of your suitcases and put them into those dresser drawers?
No, I live out of my suitcase.
So you live out of your suitcase?
Yeah.
It depends on my length of stay.
John?
I would say it depends on my length of stay sometimes. If I'm going to be in one location for a week, possibly. But if I'm going to be there for 3 days, 4 days, probably not. Most of the time, I'm, at least in Walt Disney World, I'm keeping my stuff in my suitcase, which is different from being on a cruise.
Right, I was going to mention.
On a cruise, I put all my stuff right into the drawers and into
Same here. Yeah, on a
cruise, when we go to Disney and we're there for 4 nights, The first night we're there, everything gets out of the suitcases and they go in there. That's our home for 4 days.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so much more relaxing doing that than living out of the suitcase, because then you don't really feel like you're there. It's just like you're sleeping on a bed. It's not sleeping in your bed. I don't know how to explain it.
You know what?
I don't want to forget something too. So, in a big resort room, I put out stuff in all the different drawers or in the closets. It's okay. Now I have to remember wherever I put everything and not forget something. But it's just a personal thing I do.
Yeah, that's part of it for me, and it's also I'm a big germaphobe. This dates back to way before COVID. So and it's crazy because, or I'm crazy because, like John said, I'll do the same thing on a cruise ship. I'll just empty out my suitcase on a cruise, but when I'm in the hotel, whether it's Disney or another place, I'm living out of my suitcase.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's not. I don't know. Maybe it's the DVC resorts. I don't know what it is, but there's only certain areas we put things. We're not. And then my wife does a sweep of the room. I do a sweep of the room. We do a sweep of the kids' bedroom. Do a sweep of the living room and the kitchen.
Check for bed bugs.
Bed bugs.
Yeah.
We invite them for dinner.
Yeah. No.
So, no, bed bugs are going to happen. Luckily, it doesn't happen. Hasn't happened to us yet. In
same here.
Any of our DVC resorts. Usually, I'm hearing of that happening in the value. Occasionally in the moderate, not very often. It's usually in the value. I don't know why. I don't know if it's because the doors open to the outdoors. I don't know where bed bugs come from.
I think it's people bringing them from their home.
Yeah.
I think Disney does a very good job of eliminate or eradicating the little pests. But I think John's right. They come in people's suitcases. Hey, let's go on a trip. You're coming too.
Yeah, come with.
Yeah, you want to see Jiminy Cricket?
Oh, golly. Well, DVC, Kurt's talking about DVC. For me, that's another one of the reasons why I don't leave property. I've gone to the trouble of investing in the DVC points that I have. So I want to use them up, first of all. And I don't want to have to go pay for resorts somewhere else. I've already prepaid for those. So that's another reason why I don't want to leave.
And people, it's expensive. We stay in two-bedroom resorts. I didn't do it this year. I didn't price it out. We know we've paid off the initial payment because we've had this thing since 2007. The savings we've had, we ended up paying, it was like $925 for 4 nights last year with our dues. And the rooms, a one-night room was going to be $946 or something like that. So we paid basically for 1 night and stayed 4.
That's great.
And but we also bought DVC when it was like $92 a point instead of over $200 where it's at now.
Makes a big difference.
It does.
So when they're like, add on points, we'll take. Yeah, no, we don't want to add any more points on.
Yeah, I didn't know that I'd be living down here at this point, in my life, or at any point in my life. And I remember, and I'm still kicking myself, when DVC first started. Actually, it was called something else. I forgot what it was called. I'm kicking myself because I didn't invest in DVC then. It was so cheap then, and I just kept saying, "Well, maybe next year, maybe next year." Well, next year never came.
I remember when it was like $70 a point, 50 something a point, and with that, there were incentives included, annual passes to the year 2000. That now 2000 came, but there was like, when did it start? 92, I want to say.
Yeah, it was in the early 90s.
So it was like basically you're getting 18 years of annual passes for free, included.
Now, when DVC first started, there was only one property.
Correct, which is now Old Key
West, and it was, and the reason we bought was at a certain point in time there was enough variety in properties, and there have been many more since.
Right now, where did you start? Did you start
Kidani?
Yeah. So that was being built when we bought Saratoga Springs. So at that point,
yeah, you were a year before us.
Yeah. So at that point, there was Wilderness Lodge and Beach Club and Boardwalk. I'm missing one. No, Grand Floridian didn't have it yet.
That was afterward. Yeah. Many after that. Polynesian, Riviera,
Bay Lake Tower.
Bay Lake. Yep. So yeah, that's another reason why I like to stay there. We've talked about the investment we have in the product. Well, that's my very tangible investment in the property.
Correct. And everyone's got their own favorite resorts that they like to stay at, which is kind of nice because then there's no overlap. So.
Oh.
Yeah, it's my phone. It fell off its stand, and then I picked it up and dropped it again.
He's beating up his brother again.
Yeah. No.
So, I'll tell you what, I have a feeling the next time we go back, we're going to go back to Wilderness Lodge. And some people are like, no, that's not what I like. They'd rather. I know people that would rather just go to Animal Kingdom and just stay on their balcony and watch the animals there.
Darlene knows somebody just like that who will never leave Animal Kingdom.
Yeah.
Or I should say the resort.
Yeah. We've talked before about how a Disney World vacation involves a good amount of planning. And there's some things you can do to minimize that, but I don't want to take and increase the planning, because if I'm going to go somewhere else, to me, that's more planning I have to do.
Yep, right. Absolutely. And it makes it more, if you're using a travel agent or a travel planner, it makes it more difficult for them to successfully figure out what you want to do, when you want to do it, how you want to do it. And by that, I mean, they'll get you in the resort, that they think will be best for you. They'll get you the tickets you need for each day in the parks, and they'll help you plan it out. But they're very different parks, and it just makes it more work for them. And if that's their job, yes, they have to do it, but they've got to know you. And you know what? There are very few people that love Disney, that love Universal equally, I think. Maybe I'm wrong, because I'm in that Disney bubble, so I could be very wrong about that.
Well, building off of that, Stuart, you're right, because that travel planner that's helping you, usually you're going to have one person that specializes on Disney and then somebody else that specializes on Universal. It's rare that you're going to have someone that does both.
Yes, I agree.
Like, it's just too difficult. It's like having a doctorate in mathematics and a doctorate in English. You usually don't see both. Someone with both. So,
yeah, I agree. And speaking of travel planners, Mouse Fan Travel is your absolute number one place to go whenever you want to. I thought you were saying pause. It's your number one place to go whenever you want to travel. Whenever you want to travel to Walt Disney World on vacation, maybe it's for business, maybe it's for just simple pleasure. Nobody plans Disney vacations better than Mouse Fan Travel. They do Disney World, Disneyland, Disney Cruise Line, Adventures by Disney. They'll get you anywhere you want to go, even a non-Disney vacation. Go to www.mousefantravel.com for their great deals going on right now. That's www.mousefantravel.com.
And that might be a place where you could find a travel planner that specializes in both.
Yep, absolutely. Like I said, it is hard. I'm sure there are people out there that love both. and know both like the back of their hands. And I'm sure Mass Fan Travel has quite a few agents like that. But you know what? It's just like if I'm going to Disney, and I can't speak for everybody who's watching or listening to the show out there, whether it's on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, or someplace else. I just can't imagine leaving Disney property. It's just, there's too much going on that just puts a smile on your face. It's like, why would you risk wiping that smile off your face to go someplace else? There are people who, and I understand people will eat off property because they think they're saving money. But you know what? If you're going to the restaurants that travel agents tell you to go to off property, you know where they're sending you? They're sending you to all the places where tourists go, not where the locals go. So you're still paying higher percentage, not higher percentage. You're paying a higher amount than you would if you went to, let's say, Red Robin in your hometown by going to one in a tourist area here.
And don't forget about your travel fees.
That's right.
So you have to Uber there. That's going to be $35 each,
Yep.
however much
not
each
cheap.
direction. Are you going to be driving there? You got to pay for the gas.
Mm-hmm.
So is it? It's the hidden cost that you hear about. That would be a hidden cost.
John, you're muted.
John, you're
All
muted.
right, and like we said before, there's also the cost of time.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Is it worth leaving the magic to have a meal someplace else? It might save you a couple of dollars, but guess what? You're spending it getting there and back, and the time you're losing, taking you away from what you've been immersed in.
Dealing with traffic and
yeah. Look, I'm not telling anybody they should stay on Disney property the whole time. Well, yes, I am.
Well, and here's
we're
where
saying why we do. We're saying
this is where we leave. We'll leave once our room is ready to go to Target to get our supplies, because you don't necessarily want to buy everything on Disney property, because you can get a case of water at Target for what, $4,
or
instead of $4 a bottle.
Or use Amazon Prime Fresh.
Yep, have it delivered.
Or one of the other delivery services.
Do they allow that to be delivered again? Because I thought for a while they weren't taking deliveries.
The last time I was there, I used it.
Yeah, I think it's back.
Okay.
I think it's been back for a while now. Who is it? Instacart will also deliver for you there. I believe they're letting them in. I'm not positive of that, but I believe they are. But you're right. That would be the only reason I would leave property. You get to your hotel room, it's not ready. You check your bags, you go get your supplies, whatever food, whatever you want for your room. Come back. Darlene, is someone's car getting robbed? You're muted.
So you guys didn't hear it. There was just big thunder, and I thought maybe it was raining, but there's no rain, just the thunder. So it must be heat.
It's Big Thunder Mountain.
Yeah. That's one thing down here. You'll get these waves of thunder and lightning, and it doesn't rain.
No rain.
Yeah, it'll rain like 2 miles down the road.
Yeah.
And you get nothing.
I was kind of hoping it was going to rain.
Yeah, me too. We need it. That there are so many reasons that people leave Disney property, but how many of those people that leave Disney property can actually say they didn't lose something from their Disney vacation because they left, whether it's for a day or a couple of days? I just think you lose so much more than just staying on property. If you had to give, what would your number one reason be, Kurt, for staying on property and not never leaving?
Just again, because you're already completely immersed anyways. I thought you were going to ask me what would be the number one reason to leave, besides shopping.
Appendicitis.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I mean, the only time we ever really left was when we went over to Cape Kennedy. And that would be about it. But the reason to stay, again, you're there enjoying the immersiveness of it. I'm at a I'm at a resort. I'm not at a hotel.
Mm-hmm.
I'm at a resort that I can enjoy. I just want to sit on the balcony. I don't want to drive somewhere else. I want to look at the Disney gift shops that have something with a slight theme that's not over the top. And they're usually right there where we're at. So I guess that also falls along the lines of what resort are you staying at and what kind of gift, what kind of shopping is available to you.
Yep, I agree with that. And also something I would recommend if you're going to, like if you want to go to Cape Canaveral and see a rocket launch or just to see what's going on there, or go to the port just to see what the port's like, or go to Legoland or Universal, do it before you go to Disney, because you're going to see a major difference from your experience. And you might have a great experience if you go to some of those places, but Disney can't, or no one can compete with the experience you get on Disney property. Nobody.
Sometimes when we do it, it's right in the middle because it's just a breath of fresh air, and then you're right back immersed into the magic again. Yeah. So just that. So if we used to stay 5 nights instead of only 4, and it literally was, rather than going 6 days to the parks, it was a couple days at the park, take a break. So maybe 3 days at the park, take a break, last 2 days at the park. So that way it's not nonstop. Sometimes you need a break just to relax.
That's true.
I mean, when you're putting in, 10 miles a day, you go over to Cape Kennedy or Kennedy Space Center, you're walking, but you're not walking that much. So sometimes you just need a break to relax.
Well, that's why you sandwich a Disney cruise in between. So
that's
Disney World, they go to a cruise and relax, and then come back and cap it off with another.
But you're going from one Disney immersive experience to a different Disney immersive experience and back.
True.
I do believe, and I'm not saying you're wrong, Kurt, and please don't take it this way. But I do believe that you do lose something the moment you step off property, even if it's to relax, and by doing something that is not as strenuous on your body and your brain because you haven't gotten enough rest for the last 3 days.
Right. Well, even if it's just like to go, well, you're not going off property. In the middle, we've taken a day and just gone to a water park just to relax that way. Although that's, again, a lot of walking, a lot of swimming, but it's not the same as being in a park with nonstop.
Yeah, like just a day at the resort, like you said. Sit on the balcony, go to the pool, sit by the side of the pool, having something to drink or having a nice lunch.
Go down to Disney Springs, go to Sprinkles, get a cupcake and sit on a bench and enjoy your cupcake and watch people.
Yeah, you can do that too. Something I wanted to ask you guys. Is there anything Disney can do? Now, we know, like I said early in the beginning of the show, Magical Express is gone. Is there anything Disney can do to enhance, refine, add on, ways to get guests to say, you know what, I had plans to go to Universal, screw that. I want to be here. I don't want to leave.
Well, the Disney dining plan is one of the ways that Disney has used in the past, and they've brought back now.
And that'll be back next year.
Yeah, I mean, they lock people in with that.
They did.
I'd like to see it go on. Sorry, Darlene.
No, they did. That was like one of the big things for us was not having to worry about what we needed money for. Yep. I know a lot of people put money on gift cards and use those, but we found the dining plan worked out great. It regulated what we were going to try to eat. And, we had everything situated.
Yeah, we did the same thing.
See, I was thinking, but again, transportation a lot of times is an issue. And people hate those buses. Expand the Skyway. Expand it out to either go towards Animal Kingdom. If you're going towards Animal Kingdom, the only thing that you wouldn't be going to, because you can hit those resorts as well, The only thing you wouldn't necessarily be going to is the Magic Kingdom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I like the Skyway. I wish the monorail was more economically feasible to expand that way, but we know that's not going to happen.
That's also a long ride, either on the Skyliner or on the monorail. I mean, even going between the TTC and Epcot is a fairly long ride. If you were going out that far, I really don't think they're ever going to take either the monorail or the Skyliner out to the Animal Kingdom.
I agree with you.
If they did it, there would be a stop off at Coronado Springs.
Right, but if you wanted to get from the other side beyond Coronado Springs and then down, I agree having a stopover is good, but it's still a long trip.
Darlene, you're not going to die. You're in your house. If there's thunder or lightning, you're safe.
Even by bus, it's a long trip.
I heard a crack, so you never know where it's going to land.
So technically, it should be faster going by Skyway than by bus, because bus has got to stop at all those stops at all of the intersections.
So my issue with the buses over the years was not getting to the parks. It was always when I wanted to come home, when I was dragging because I was so tired, waiting and waiting for the bus to come and then fill up and take off and rinse, repeat, that whole thing.
My biggest thing was how many people they crammed into those buses.
Yeah.
Well, that too. And last year, again, my friend and his son decided they didn't want to go back on Mickey's Runaway Railway. They were going to just go back to their resort, which they were staying at. What's the value resort that sleeps six? Why can't I think of it?
Oh, Art of Animation.
Art of Animation. So all they're going to do is hop on the monorail or hop onto the Skyway. They couldn't do the Skyway because there was lightning in the area. So they had to take a bus. They sat there for an hour waiting for the bus.
Wow.
Their family waited 45 minutes in line, did the attraction, walked out, and got on the same bus with them.
Yeah. Something else I thought Disney can do, it's a minor thing to help people, Epcot, where are the trams? Well, no, Epcot.
Yeah.
Hollywood Studios, I don't think needs them as much, but they should have them anyway available. Bring them back to all the
Epcot parks. They're back at Animal Kingdom, aren't they?
They're back at Animal Kingdom. They're back at Magic Kingdom.
Right. Yeah, that's a head scratcher.
Yeah. Yep. Hopefully that's coming in the near future, but we don't know yet. No one mentioned a fifth park. I mean, I know that's, that would take years. Yep. Kurt's right. Kurt, for those who are not watching us, Kurt, he made the gesture of money, and that's absolutely the issue there. They're going to expand the existing parks first as much as they can, or fill them in as much as they can, before they're going to go to a fifth park, which really achieves the same thing.
Yeah, and we've talked about this multiple times before. I agree that available investment is a limiting factor.
Yep.
But I also think that revenue growth is one of the reasons why it would happen. So that's a pretty tough push-pull there.
Yeah, I do think
a lot right now, though.
Yeah, I do think we will see a fifth park at some point in the future, but that could be 20 years from now.
Yeah, well, but they're going to depreciate. It's not all the investment has to happen at one time. They depreciate it over a long period of time.
Yeah,
and I really think that would be the impetus behind it. I've said it before, is that's their opportunity for revenue growth. That would be one of the big driving factors if that worked. If they saw that there was the opportunity for revenue growth.
Yeah.
That would be one of the reasons that they would go that direction.
Now, before we jump into another quick topic, Darlene, Kurt, John, anything else you want to add to this topic?
Eat more Dole Whips.
I think we exhausted it.
I'm sorry?
I think we exhausted it.
I think we did.
We covered it from my perspective.
Yeah, I think we covered it and then some. Something else I did want to talk about. It was mentioned quite a bit during the show how the crowds have been down. It's not just at Disney World; it's at Universal. It's just in Florida in general. Tax revenue is being reported as being down. I think it's a little under, but close to 7% from where it was last year. I think that could be attributed to several factors. I think with Disney, I think people spent their money, their stimulus money coming here. They plan the vacations that once in a lifetime, or their what's the name? What do they call those vacations? Oh God, the
bucket list item.
No, it wasn't a bucket list. There's a name for it. Oh God, why can't I think of it? I just heard it yesterday too. Revenge. That's it.
Oh,
the revenge vacation.
Revenge travel.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because they were cooped up so long because of COVID, and that's pretty much done. So the people that and everybody who couldn't come to the parks a couple of years ago came last year.
We had a discussion about this.
Yes, and you were right. I admit I was wrong. I was going to get there. You beat me to it. I was going to get there. John was right. I said the crowds wouldn't start leveling down until
next year.
Until the end of this year or next year. And I used, depending on a recession, blah, 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 whatever. But John was right. Absolutely right. We're seeing the crowds disappear. We're also seeing the heat appear.
Yeah, I didn't plan on the heat. But.
Yeah. I think there are a lot of reasons. I think the governor here, and I use that term loosely for governor.
I've heard that a majority of Floridians like him.
Yeah,
I hear that's changing.
I heard that too.
People are starting.
I think they're getting frustrated because there's a lot of things happening in Florida that need to be taken care of, and he's off on the campaign trail already.
Right. He's more interested in his future than he is in the future of Florida and the Floridians that live here.
And he's hiding a lot now. He's hiding money he spends on travel. He's hiding who's traveling with him. He used to have to disclose all that information, and he doesn't have to disclose any of it now.
That's right.
He doesn't have to disclose who's coming to the governor's mansion for dinner. None of that stuff.
That doesn't sound like a democracy to me.
Yeah. Let's
talk about
let's leave that to the political podcast.
Yeah, we will. I just wanted to make that point, and I appreciate Kurt describing it here because he described it to a T.
Yeah.
But that's another excuse that you're seeing down here. I think people just don't have the money. I think Disney, and I think this is the important part. Disney has outpriced several sections of this country and maybe even the world.
Well, and Bob
Iger the locals.
He's acknowledged that.
Yep.
He said that we've gone too far, and we have made it inaccessible to too many Americans to come.
And how many times have we said on the show and even off the show, just talking to each other, that the day was going to come where Disney was going to go too far, and they weren't going to do anything about it until they realized they've gone too far.
Exactly.
And
I wonder what they're going to do and how are they going to fix it.
Yeah.
Well, we know how they're going to fix it in the short term, and that's offer incentives, discounts.
Yep. And I think they're wrong doing that. And not that they're offering the incentives. I think they're not going far enough.
Well, there's also, I've seen discussion where a lot of pundits think the discounts are going to increase.
But a lot of those discounts aren't going to help you and I, who are DVC member, and Darlene, who are the DVC members who invested in this a long time ago. And with the prices going up as crazy as they went up, these incentives are to fill all the hotel rooms, but they didn't pass a lot of that on to us.
Yeah, well, but it's natural to start there, though. It's not natural to start with DVC, and that doesn't make us happy. But it's natural for them to start with the addition, the revenue streams, the additional revenue streams of paying for those hotels and paying for the food. And not that we don't, we buy food and we buy merchandise, but we've already paid for our rooms.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And those are, so when they're like, if you stay in our room, we'll give you 4 free tickets, we're not getting those. And that's where it's costing us extra. Or the free dining, same thing. We don't get that either. So like you said, their target audience is getting other people. They already know we're going to show up. What would be nice is incentives on discounts on tickets for us.
But as a DVC member,
never seen it.
Sorry, Kurt. As a DVC member, and I'm the only one here who's not, you guys are paying for things now that were free in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And that's a problem too. That's not being addressed because, like Kurt said, they know you're going to show up.
Well, they do look at it. It's a continuous assessment by Disney of how much they are going to try to defer to DVC members. The DVC leadership is always looking at it, but they've got limitations on how much they can invest in those programs, and it's constantly changing.
Yeah, right now they're offering incentives that they're hoping will be enough to right the ship. I think they're making a big mistake in one area, and God, I've mentioned this so many times. They have said that come 2024, people will be happier with Genie Plus, that they're going to figure it out by then. I think the mistake is that they're keeping Genie Plus. I still think the way to go, and this is what I would do if I were them right now, I wouldn't increase the prices. I would go back to Fast Pass the way it was. Yes, they have to integrate it, and it might take a couple of months. Maybe after the summer, go back to that, and then see if people are coming back to the parks. And if they are starting to come back, then you can raise the price of tickets, but keep that Fast Pass in. Instead of raising or lowering prices of Genie Plus, come up with a price point that works, and have that included with whether you want to call it Fast Pass or Genie Plus, like they used to with Fast Pass.
They just changed the prices of the Genie Plus.
They did.
So I think last time I checked, it was like $17. Well, they raised it at the Magic Kingdom to $27,
right.
Because everyone buys it. Is it 29 today? It was 27 yesterday when we looked. We looked yesterday; it was 27.
Yeah, it's nuts.
So now, that being said, we never paid more than, I think we paid 24 when we were down there. But so now Epcot, it's only 17. Honestly, we never used it at Epcot. We used it at Animal Kingdom, which it was like whatever it was, because it was the same price everywhere. But I think they really looked at, okay, well, this is where it's not being used. Mm-hmm. Let's really lower the price, because if we lower the price at those locations, people will pay for it then. But we're going to jack up the price of the Magic Kingdom because everyone wants to use it at the Magic Kingdom. Because it's really hard to tour without it.
It's a revenue stream. It's a revenue stream that they've come up with that for them it's working from a profitability standpoint. But from a guest standpoint, I still say I'd rather they raise the prices at some point in time, not now, but at some point in time, where they're still getting that revenue through the ticket sales, as opposed to, all right, X amount number of guests are going to pay for Genie Plus in this park, I'll pay for it in this park, instead of doing it that way. So yeah, you're still paying for it, but you're leveling the field in the park, so the guest experience while you're online waiting for those attractions is lessened, because you're not, right now it's an unfair advantage to people who have Genie Plus, because they're not doing it like they did with Fast Pass. They're still taking a majority of people that come into the line, the Lightning Lane, with the Genie Plus than they are the guests that are in the standby line. They're punishing the people in the standby line for not paying for Genie Plus, which in the Magic Kingdom, if you don't get Genie Plus, you're not going on much of anything.
Right.
It's difficult.
And I think if they incorporate that revenue stream into the ticket prices as best they can and get rid of Genie Plus, it creates a much happier guest experience in the parks. And
except for by raising those tickets again, Right now, they're asking people,
Well, I'm not
do
saying
you
they
feel
can
like
do
we
it now.
still get the best value? And the answer is no. So now what are you going to do? You're going to, what is it? It's $150, $180, depending on the time of year, for a one-day ticket to go to the Magic Kingdom. And now you're going to raise that price to $200 to.
Well, I didn't say they should raise it right now. I know right now is not a good time because people are revolting against paying the prices to begin with. I think they need to figure out what they can keep that price point at. It might even be to lower the prices.
They may have to lower the prices, or keep the prices where they are right now, and say,
Yeah, I don't think they'll lower them.
They don't lower
right.
them, but if they said, we're going to make this available to you, the problem is then everybody's going to have Genie Plus and you're back to your Fast Pass system. So you're going to have an overload because everybody's got it.
Well, that's why I said they have to go back to how they did Fast Pass.
But they need to do Fast Passes.
And they're not going to do that.
Ordering Fast Passes 60 days out.
None of us think that
the day that you are there, that's the day when you can start doing your Fast Passes. That's what made that work so well.
Yeah, and you're right. But I think the only way they're going to go back to what it was like before is if this is not just a temporary trend of people not going. I think if you see 2-3 years in a row of people just saying, you know what, it's not fun anymore, I'm not going, then they may have no choice. But there's a price to pay for lowering the prices. You know, it's the money they're getting, and some of it is greed. I'm not going to say it's not, because they have to make a profit. It's a business. I get it. But some of it is, I think it's a miscalculation that people are going to pay whatever they ask for. And I think they're seeing for the first time they're not.
They said that last year. Chapek's guy came out and said, oh, no, we're just raising the prices because people will pay it. They made the mistake of actually saying that, and they let the cat out of the bag.
Mm-hmm.
And that you can't. I mean, people don't want to hear that.
No, they don't.
People don't want to hear that.
And you know what? I think, you know, I don't want to put the blame on Bob Chapek alone, but I think he accelerated what we're seeing happen in the parks a lot quicker than I think Iger ever would have done. I think he would have gradually built things up so people wouldn't have noticed it as much what was going on there. I think Chapek just said, let's go for the jugular. Let's ram these prices down these people's throats. They're going to come. And they were wrong. Or he was wrong.
Well, they did initially. They were showing, again, we had the money. So it was great. Look at how well the parks are doing. We're struggling right now.
That's the same thing with Run Disney. I was fine with paying the money when it was a certain price point, but now I just looked at the virtual Christmas races that are coming up. That are 12K virtual. You do 4Ks, and you get, your medals and a commemorative mug and all that stuff. But the price point is just too high. It's $267.
Yeah.
And you're not even running through Disney parks.
Right.
No, you're doing your own.
That's insane. Why would you do
here,
that?
You go run on your own, and here, we'll give you a medal for it.
Yeah.
You're paying $260 for a medal. That's all you're doing.
Yeah.
The medal and the shirt.
And the shirt. Yeah. Well, that's what I said, and a commemorative mug and, but I just can't see.
Yeah. I think Disney's got a rough road ahead, but it's not just Disney. It's everybody. If you go to the supermarkets or grocery stores or big box stores, you're seeing prices go up, not 5 cents here or a few cents here. You see them go up $1, $2. It's nuts. It's got to stop somewhere. And speaking of stopping, we're going to stop the show right here. We will be back next week. I don't know how many of us will be here next week.
I will be on assignment.
Right. And so will John, and I'm not sure about Lottie next week, but Kurt and I will be here.
We may have a special guest. Maybe they can do a comparison contrast about Universal versus.
Yeah, that would be great. All right. We're out of here. We'll be back next week. Hope everybody has a great weekend. Until next time, be safe, be yourself, and bye-bye.
Good night, everybody.
I want to twist words around a little bit here. We were talking about, staying in the world, but I'm going to switch that over to the land, and I'm going to say, let's listen to the land we all love. Nature's plan will shine above. Listen to the land, listen to the land. Come back and be with us in our land, in our world next week. Have a great week. Good night.
Have a magical night. Stay safe. Pack your sunscreen, a poncho, and hydrate. Also, remember to like us on Facebook and Apple Podcast and Spotify, Google, you name it, wherever we are. Please
Amazon, you bet.